So apologies for the really poor video quality and audio quality here, but I wanted to kind of post an update of where we are on the system. In the current configuration, you've seen this a bunch of times. CPU boards in the front, there's 4 16K RAM cards in the middle there. The FDC plus floppy controller in the back, the original inside Altair I/O card kind of poking up out with the gray cable. You can probably hear the disk drives here running in the background. Of course, there's the front panel in operation. I've had a whole lot of issues around reliable floppy drive operation, and I've spent a lot of hours trying to understand what was up with the floppy drives, and it's been a combination of things. I had a bad RAM card over here in the chassis that seemed to become disturbed during disk access most often, and maybe it was being used as a buffer or something, I don't really know. But with that bad RAM card in, the system would randomly lock up and just confuse things. You know, the floppy drive would appear to work, the system would continually lock up. The next day, the system would run solid as a rock for 12 hours, then the lockup issues that come back every few minutes. And so a whole lot of time thinking bad floppy drives, et cetera, before I finally, in desperation, stripped the chassis down. So pulled up, all the cards I could out. Used the FDC Plus card. You can see the two blue dip switches to the right there in the back. I enabled the RAM and the ROM on those. So the ROM card I built came out, the RAM came out, and I stripped the system down to the bare minimum and it ran reliably, and then I've been adding cards back until detecting the bad RAM card that's actually currently not in the system. We're booted to CPM 2.2 and MBasic, writing a little program I wrote. I'll come out here so you can see the drives, and what this program is doing is there's a small text file on the A and B disks, and it's opening those up, reading the contents out, displaying it on, sending it out the console output, and then just looping with reads over and over and over. I also have an alignment issue between these two drives. This is the Siemens drive. This is a Shugart drive. So it's a Siemens FD800 and a Shugart 801R. And there's alignment issues. I can't interchange disks between them. If I do, I get BDOS errors. And those BDOS errors also caught me in trying to understand the floppy, reliability issues. I just didn't think about the fact that it had alignment issues between the two drives would be a problem. The other thing that chewed up a ton of time, and you're not going to be able to see this well, is this is the Shugart 801R. And on the board, can I point to the spot? There's an R74, I don't know if I can get in here where you can really see it. There's an R74 spot where there was a resistor, and there's a Zener diode there. And that resistor, within a very short period of time, seconds from powering the drive up, would become blisteringly hot. Really, really warm. To the point you couldn't actually touch it. And that really led me down the rabbit hole of there's a thermal issue on the board. That resistor shouldn't be getting that hot. A whole lot of investigation, and the problem there, was I can't find schematics for the 801R board. I can find them for the 801 and the 800, but this particular rev of the board I can't find schematics for. And so the question was, what is this Zener and resistor up here for? And in tracing out the board, they turned out to be 5-volt regulation for the two Shugart custom chips in here. And this is the the read-write amps, and basically the analog section lives here to deal with reading and writing disks. And all this resistor and Zener here we're doing is regulating the plus 24 volt down to plus 5 to power these chips. I'm assuming that was done to isolate them from the regular 5-volt power on the board for better noise rejection, maybe. At the moment, I've pulled that resistor and Zener out, and I've simply jumpered the 5-volt power on these two chips to the 5-volt rail that the power supply produces. And, the system's working reliably. There were 3 older electrolytic caps in here, and one of them measured, there were 4.7 microfarad, there's 3 of them. One of them measured about 2 microfarads and was leaky, and I just, as a temporary solution, swapped in some cheap electrolytics. I will get proper caps to put back in here, just because, this is very temporary what I've got going on here. But between the memory card issues, the disk interchangeability issues, going down the rabbit hole thinking that resistor getting super hot was a problem, Like I say, really chewed up a lot of time here. If you do the math, 24 volts minus 5 volts is 19 volts. And 19 volts dropped across that resistor. I don't remember what the current was, but I calculated all this, but I come up with about 1.64 watts were being dissipated off that resistor. It's a 2-watt resistor. The other confusion was that large resistor that was in here is a Kelvin precision resistor, 220 ohm of 1%. And the question is, why is it a precision resistor? You know, there was just a lot of confusion to understand what this was, until I just finally realized it's just, you know, a cleaner 5-volt regulation. Been beating up on the system pretty good here with this little basic program. It just, you know, opens a file, reads from the 2 drives, sends it up, you know, the contents out, console, closes it and reads and just loops. This configuration, the 2 drives have been running for half hour now, very solidly. So I think I'm getting much closer to having the system in a state where I can get it buttoned up and ready for VCF next month. In March 2020 will be VCF Pacific Northwest in Seattle. That's the Vintage Computer Federation. I will have a table there, and the system will be at the table. So if you can come visit me, you can see the system. We can talk about it. We can talk about, you know, the vintage cards I've got in here. We can talk about, you know, the modern cards that up on dramp.com. Mike's selling up there. We can talk about the serial card that's not in the machine currently. That is a modern, more modern card that you know, emulates the original Altair communications cards. So there's lots of stuff to talk about. You know, we'll be able to play with the machine. Hopefully it'll stay stable that long. But I know there's been no new content for quite some time. I've been chasing these issues, and you know, a lot of video could have been shot. There was a lot of head scratching. It would have required massive amounts of editing to make anything reasonable worth watching. And honestly, I've been down so many incorrect rabbit holes and confused. It's hard to say. I did spend a whole lot of time. I need to get some video of this. Looking at the test points up here, and it's really beautiful to watch the signals going to the right heads, or you know, it's the same heads for read or write. Watching the signals when it's writing, or watching the signals when it's reading, those waveforms are just really gorgeous. I will get some video of that in a future video, just because it was a lot of fun to watch. But here's our quick little update. You know, that pause there scared me. We're back stable. You know, it's closed the files, reopen them for read. Now it'll click back and forth as it reads the content. So anyhow, I've droned on long enough. This will be a short video. There's the quick update. Love to see you at VCF if you're able to get to Seattle or live in the Seattle area. And I'll see you in the next video.